an organization, both Scotiabank globally and Scotiabank Jamaica in particular. And it's important that we continue to invest in that. Our second pillar is sustainable revenue growth. It's important that we continue to leverage the strength of the group through our insurance and our investment companies to make sure that more of our customers in the bank are doing business with all of our subsidiary companies. We also need to focus on penetrating new markets, which is why we continue to expand our insurance product line, our investment product line, so that we continue to be able to deepen the relationship that we have with our customers. The third pillar is operational efficiency, and something that we are recognized in the market for having the best productivity ratios. We'll continue to focus on improving the efficiency of our back office operation, to centralize where we can, to employ technology intelligently so that we continue to maintain that leadership position in operating efficiency. Fourth is client intimacy, and that is recognizing that if we aren't providing quality customer experience, that in the end, the ability for us to maintain our leadership position is going to be difficult. We'll continue to survey customers, get feedback into our sales staff so that we can make sure that we're maintaining the standards that we've set. And finally, we'll remain committed to prudent risk management, something that we have been known for over the years and has kept us in good position even when other institutions have difficulties. This is important because it allows us to maintain our competitive position and allows us to have opportunities that other institutions do not always have because of the stability, the capital, and the liquidity that we maintain. Some of these strategic initiatives will have impact in the short term and others in the long term, but we are confident that building on the base of excellence that we have had over 124 years following these strategies, we will continue to provide exceptional return to our shareholders in future. In closing, I want to thank our board of directors for their interest and their guidance, our staff for their committed service, and our shareholders and customers for their continued confidence. I also want to take this opportunity on behalf of the senior management team to thank our outgoing chairman, Mr. Brian Porter, for his guidance over the last few years and all he's done to give us the right direction and ultimately make your bank more successful in the marketplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie and Bruce, for your reports. The director's report has been circulated to members. May I have a motion that the director's report be taken as read? Thank you. Seconded over here. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Against? I declare the motion carried. Auditor's report. I will now ask Mr. Linroy Marshall of KPMG to read the auditor's report. Mr. Marshall, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I invite you to follow along on page 44 of your books as I read the independent auditor's report to the members of Scotia Group Jamaica Limited. We have audited the financial statements comprising the separate financial statements of Scotia Group Jamaica Limited, hereafter the company, and the consolidated financial statements of the company and its subsidiaries, hereafter the group, set out on pages 45 to 144, which comprise the group's and company's statements of financial position as at October 31, 2012, the group's and company's statements of revenue and expenses, comprehensive income, changes in equity and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes comprising a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. Management is responsible for the preparation of financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the Jamaican Companies Act. And for such internal control, as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on the financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance as to whether or not the financial statements are free from material misstatement. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence relating to the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on our judgment, including our assessment of the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making those risk assessments, we consider internal controls relevant to the entity's preparation of financial statements that give a true and fair view in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the group and the company as at October 31, 2012, and of the group's and company's financial performance, changes in equity and cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the Jamaican Companies Act. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been maintained so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the financial statements, which are in agreement therewith, give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in the manner required. The report was issued by KPMG at Kingston, dated November 29, 2012.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Will the Secretary please table the reports together with the statements of accounts?
My name is Bruce Bowen, your Chairman of the Board of Directors of Scotia Investments Jamaica Limited. As you're aware, and as you'd have noted in the annual report, Professor Stephen Vassiani, who had previously been chairman, resigned from the Board of Directors to take up an assignment as Jamaica's ambassador to the United States of America. I'd like to take this opportunity, both personally and on behalf of the board, to thank Professor Vassiani for his contribution during his tenure on the board and wish him well in his future endeavors. Also want to mention our pleasure at being here in Montego Bay and to welcome you, our shareholders, to our annual general meeting. This is, we felt that important both as a group, Scotia Group and Scotia Investments, to come out of Kingston to have an opportunity for our shareholders elsewhere, and particularly in the Montego Bay area, to have an opportunity to interact with us. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of Scotia Investments Jamaica Limited, I would like to extend to you our appreciation for your continued interest in the affairs of the company. It is indeed my pleasure to serve as your chairman. For recording purposes, I remind members that only registered stockholders or their appointed proxies can move or second motions, ask questions, and vote. I would ask that anyone wishing to speak identify themselves with their name and state that they are a stockholder of the company for recording purposes. In respect of the resolutions being presented to the meeting, I will read the resolutions and ask that persons wishing to move or second these resolutions do so via the microphone provided. I would also like to introduce Mrs. Julie Thompson-James, who is the Secretary of the company and will perform the functions of Secretary at this meeting. And I would like to introduce to you Ms. Yvonne Godfrey of Deloitte & Touche, Ms. Shirley Ramsaran of Scotia Group, Ms. Carol Logan of Scotia Group, who I have appointed as scrutineers at this meeting in the event that their services are required. At this point, will the Secretary please advise if a quorum is present? Thank you. All shareholders would have received notice of this annual general meeting that was incorporated in the annual report that was mailed to you. May I please have a motion that the notice of the meeting be taken as read? Livingston, moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. I am sure that all stockholders present, as well as the management and staff of the company, will join me in expressing sincere appreciation to the members of the Board of Directors of your company for their dedicated service to the company and its stockholders through the year. We're indeed very pleased to have some of our directors present this morning. However, before I introduce the directors to you, I want to acknowledge the passing of one of our very vibrant shareholders, Mr. Ralph Chen. Mr. Ralph Chen, as many of you are aware, was seldom absent from any of these meetings. In honor of our former shareholder, and by extension, of any other shareholders who may have passed during the year, I ask that at this time we observe a moment of silence. Thank you. I would now like to introduce the directors present to you. Each is asked to stand when his or her name is called. First of all, Ms. Barbara Alexander, Mr. Anthony Chang, Mrs. Angela Fowler, Dr. Anna Law, Mr. Lassant Mitchell, also CEO, and Mr. Jeffrey Hall. We have apologies for 3 directors, Ms. Kathy Welling, Mr. Marcel Schroeder, and Mr. Philip Martin. We are pleased also to have with us a number of the senior officers of the company, and I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the CEO, Mr. Mitchell, to introduce these officers to you.
Thank you, Bruce. Our senior officers, Mr. Hugh Miller, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Beresford Gray, Senior Vice President, Origination and Capital Markets, Ms. Yvonne Pandoy, VP and Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Vanessa Scott, Vice President, Sales and Service, Ms. Andrea Tinker, VP, Re-engineering Projects, Mr. Jason Morris, VP, Business Analytics, Portfolio and Product Development, Ms. Deborah Lopez-Spence, the Center Director for Scotia Private Client Group. We also have with us some senior officers from our Montego Bay branch, Mrs. Kayleen Grant-Pattison, and Mrs. Andrea Lyle. She's in the back there. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lisan. KPMG Chartered Accountants were appointed at the last annual general meeting to audit the affairs of the company for the 2012 fiscal period. The partner representing KPMG in its capacity as stockholders' auditors are in attendance at this meeting, and accordingly, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Linroy Marshall, a partner of KPMG. Mr. Marshall. Let me take this opportunity to just make a few general comments on the environment that we've been operating in over the last year and some of what we see for the year ahead. But first of all, I just want to thank the Scotia Investments team, ably led by Lissant, for their job over the last year, their commitment to clients, to continuing to improve shareholder value. And I'd like to thank all of our shareholders for your continued support. The key drivers of this business are the economy and the environment that we operate in. And the last year has been clearly one of challenge, particularly in the latter part of 2012, where we saw an increase in discomfort, nervousness amongst our clients, both the commercial and retail clients, in anticipation of this IMF agreement, this new economic plan that had been talked about so much. And certainly over the last few weeks, the National Debt Exchange, and it is going to have a significant impact on your company, the industry, and the country. The transaction, the National Debt Exchange, saves the government of Jamaica an estimated $17 billion a year in interest costs, and that $17 billion is a reduction in revenue, interest revenue, the majority from the financial sector, a small percentage from individual investors, but over 90% of it from the financial sector. So obviously that will have an impact on all companies, and your company in particular. As a group and as a company, the directors took the decision to participate in the debt exchange because we believe that as part of a broader economic program, all the other aspects of which, all the other prior actions and all the commitments the government is making under the agreement, that as part of an overall program, it is the only way that we are going to reduce the risk of the government securities we are holding, and in the end going to lead to sustainable economic growth. It is not a given that this program will succeed, but without it, our decision was that the risk of the government paper was at an unacceptable level. In addition to the debt exchange, there were obviously a lot of new taxes introduced, both in May last year, an asset tax which impacted the financial sector specifically, but also increases in withholding tax on dividends, which clearly impact all of you shareholders. Broadening of the GCT net, increase in property taxes, a variety of new tax measures, all of those as well are going to have some impact on our business over the short term. And with all of these happening, even the Bank of Jamaica is saying the next few months is going to see continued weak economic growth and probably continuation of decline for the next few months. All of these factors are going to make the coming year a challenging one for the financial sector as a whole. However, similar to Scotia Group, Scotia Investments remains amongst the best capitalized institution in its market, the brokerage and investments market. We also as a group have a strong history of prudent risk management, of ensuring that we stay focused on the fundamentals of our business, and it's because of those skills that the Scotiabank name, the Bank of Nova Scotia name, has been around for 124 years and has become during that time the institution that more Jamaicans trust their finances in than any other. And so as a result, we are confident that your company is positioned to continue to deliver strong customer experience and good returns to both our customers and our shareholders. And in fact, the relative strength and prudent risk management that is our tradition will leave us, we believe, in a position to take advantage of opportunities that some of the other players in the market will be challenged to take advantage of. So looking forward, you should be confident that the future for Scotia Investments Jamaica Limited is a positive one. We feel we have the right strategies for the market, not just today, but the needs of our clients and the needs of the broader market going forward, with the strength of both the Scotia Group in Jamaica, but even the wider Bank of Nova Scotia globally, the strong capital position that we have, we believe that we are well positioned to continue to provide exceptional returns to our customers and to you, our stockholders. At this point, I want to turn it over to the CEO, Mr. Lassant Mitchell, to provide you his comments on the results in 2012. Lassant?
Thank you, Mr. Boyne. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me thank everyone for making it here to join us for annual general meeting. The first time we're having it in Montego Bay. It's a pleasure to have you. And on behalf of the Board of Directors, again, I want to express sincere gratitude for your presence. I would like to say thank you to the Board of Directors who have provided significant support and confidence in the senior management team and the company over the last year, and want to say that is greatly appreciated. As we gather for our annual general meeting, the country is attempting at this particular point in time to undertake what we'd consider the necessary but albeit painful transformation of the Jamaican landscape by reducing the reliance on debt while implementing the much needed structural reforms that essentially have held back our country for decades.